Suite upgrade to release 12.2. We'll look at 10 key considerations for planning and doing a good project. These are basically best practices and lessons learned that we've gathered from talking to customers who have successfully completed the project. We'll look first at how you establish the business value of the upgrade. Then we'll talk about how you decide on a project approach and a project scope. We'll then look at some of the key architecture changes that are part of 12.2, and then we'll look at additional upgrade impacts. We'll wrap up by looking at some preparation, testing, and optimization of the technical upgrade process. So let's get started by looking at how you build the business case for doing the upgrade. Now, it's basically going to be predicated on the fact that with 12.2, you'll be able to take advantage of what we call continuous innovation, which is basically the ability to advance the eBusiness Suite applications and the eBusiness Suite technology separately from one another without ever again pursuing another major upgrade. And basically what this looks like is that, from the start of 12.2, we have been coming out almost annually with what we call a cross eBusiness Suite release update pack that combines new features and enhancements along with error corrections and performance enhancements into a single consolidated update pack. The last one of those came out in September of 2024. That was 12.2.14. And in parallel with that, we've also been coming out with Enterprise Command Center releases. Those come out in a separate release vehicle, basically because they are iterating at twice the pace of the cross EBS RUPS. Now, the reason that we're able to provide these update packs is that we've changed the release paradigm that we've had for years and years. So when you move up from 12.1 to 12.2, you will be doing a major eBusiness Suite upgrade that is replacing both your eBusiness Suite applications and your middleware in a single project. But once you're on 12.2, you won't have to do that ever again. You won't have to, for example, plan around a 12.3 or a 12.4 or anything like that. Instead, you'll have the ability to advance the middleware using a tech stack only update that doesn't involve taking a new EBS code line. And then correspondingly, you'll have the ability to take new EBS code, let's say moving up to EBS 12.2.15 in the future, without changing your middleware stack. So that's really what the, so to speak, technical definition of continuous innovation is. Now, this change in release paradigm has caused a change in the support paradigm. What we have now is what we call the rolling 10 years of Premier support. And what that means basically is that we haven't fixed an end date as of yet. In fact, what we say is that, at any point in time, you can look out 10 years and know that you'll still have Premier support for 12.2. What we have is long-term support for 12.2 that's predicated on what we call the rolling 10 plus years of Premier support. And what that basically means is that at any point in time, you can look out 10 years and know that you'll still have Premier support for 12.2 until such a time as we announce to the contrary. And so far, as each year goes by, we've actually been extending the Premier support window by an additional year. So you can see that as of today, the end of Premier support is set at 2035. But when we come back a year from now, very good chance that it'll be 2036, and 2 years from now, 2037, and so on. So basically what you see on the top there is a really long Premier support line for eBusiness Suite 12.2, and that contrasts with EBS 12.1, which if you're still running that, I'm sure you know that the Premier support for that ended at the end of 2021.